Hey, it's Eliana Cole here from the Eagle Lake 4-H Club. Today we're going to be making lavender blackberry scones. First we're going to start off by going through the ingredients. I have here 2 cups of all-purpose flour, a half a cup of butter grated with a cheese grater. I find it works best to grate butter with a cheese grater for this kind of recipe because you're able to incorporate the butter with the flour mixture way better and way easier. We have half a cup of heavy whipping cream, a half a tablespoon of baking powder, which is equal to 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of culinary lavender. It's like a dried lavender flour, 1 egg, and a half a cup of sugar. And then we'll also add in a pinch of salt, and then of course our blackberries. So how we're gonna start this off right now is we're gonna add in our lavender to our flour, same with our baking powder, and a pinch of salt. We're going to mix this together really well to get everything incorporated. And we're also gonna add our sugar. We'll mix that in. Our next step will be to add in our butter into our flour mixture. Usually I just grate it straight into the flour mixture and so I wouldn't get in these clumps, but we're just gonna add it in like that. And we're gonna mix it together with our hands. You can also use a pie crust mixer, but I just find working it with your hands works best. You're just gonna keep on mixing it until it becomes like a breadcrumb-like texture or almond flour-like texture. Also, with the lavender, it depends on your liking, because lavender can get very strong, especially the culinary lavender. Usually you would put about 1.5 teaspoons of lavender into it, but I like to add a little bit extra because I love the flavor of lavender. Also, this smells very nice. Once we got that mixed together, and it's still like crumbly, but we're gonna add our 1 egg into our half a cup of cream. And we'll whisk that in. Okay, this next step, you wanna be very gentle with it because you don't wanna over mix your scone batter. So I like to take either a knife or a fork. I'm gonna take a fork today. Sometimes I find that easier to incorporate it faster. So we're gonna pour our cream and egg mixture into here. And we'll start folding it in gently. It won't come together that well and you'll think, oh, it's not gonna be able to form a ball. But once you lay it on the table and form your disc, it will turn out, especially when you add the blackberries in. They add moisture to it and it will get a little mushy with the blackberries, but it'll be all good. Now that I got this somewhat mixed together, it still looks very crummy, as you can tell, but we're gonna add in our blackberries. So to dump them right in there. I washed them beforehand. And we're gonna take a spatula and just fold them in gently. Again, the dough will be very crummy still. And it's like, oh, how is this even gonna work? But you'll see once we form it into a disc. Now that I have a floured surface, I'm gonna dump out my dough, which is still very crummy. We're just gonna dump it right onto the table. And now we can just like kind of incorporate everything and mix it together even more with our hands. The blackberries will start to fall apart a little bit, but that's just fine. It adds extra color of the purple, and it's very pretty in the end. So we're just gonna form a disc and then we'll end up cutting it at the end. When I was trying my disc, I realized I probably should have mixed my dry ingredients a little bit more and incorporated more of the cream because I had to squish my blackberries a little bit too much, but that's fine. It'll just be a little extra purple and you get more of the flavor all over the scone with blackberries. But now that we have it formed into a disc and mixed together, we're gonna cut it into 8. So we're gonna take a knife and just cut it right down the middle. And then do the same with the other side. And you're gonna cut them into triangles. And so since I had to mix in my blueberries a little bit more, it got a little bit stickier. So I just wanna make sure it doesn't come up too much with my knife. And with this, we're gonna transfer to a baking sheet with lined with parchment paper, and we'll be baking it in a 400 degrees oven. I had preheated that beforehand. So we can just transfer it with a pie scooper, which makes it the easiest since this is the shape of the scone, and we'll put them and lay them onto our baking sheet. Now that we got our scones put on the pan, we're gonna rub them with some sugar and cream. So I mixed about, I would say, a teaspoon of cream with about a tablespoon of sugar. So now we're gonna take our sugar and cream mixture and just glaze the top of the scones. This is so that it gives it a nice golden brown outside. I sometimes forget to do this step and then I regret it in the end. So this is a very important step to do before you bake them. When I laid my scones on here, I laid it on parchment paper. You can also use a silicone mat, or I recommend doing that instead of just putting it on straight onto your pan because they do tend to stick pretty easily. Again, I preheated my oven to 400 degrees, and once we put these in the oven, we will be baking them for around 20 to 25 minutes. Mainly just till they're golden brown on top and then they're a little bit stiff to the touch. That's when you know they're pretty much done. Now that we put the sugar and cream mixture on, we're gonna throw them into our 400 degrees oven and bake them for 20 to 25 minutes. It's been about 22 minutes and I think these scones are done. So we're gonna take them out of the oven, set them on our stove, and let them cool for probably about 10 to 15 minutes on the pan. Hey guys, so I currently have my scones sitting over there cooling. So while those are cooling, what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a lemon glaze for our scones. What we're gonna start with is a little bit of powdered sugar, about 3 tablespoons, like 1/4 of a cup. So we're gonna have that in there. We're gonna take a zester and zest some lemon in. This just gives it a nice, like, fresh, lemony flavor. Of course, because it's lemon, but it just gives it a fresh summer. Nice in the morning. And honestly, these scones are not very sweet. There's only like 1/2 cup of sugar in it, but they're nice because when you put the glaze on, it makes it much more sweeter and really good. So we zested some of the lemon in there, probably about 1/4 of a teaspoon. Then what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take a skewer, stick a hole in the bottom of my lemon, take the other end and make it a little bit bigger. We're gonna roll it a little bit before, and then you can just squeeze your lemon juice in there without getting your seeds in. It's actually a very convenient way of doing it. So we have a little bit of cream, not too much, and don't add all of it at once. I just added probably about 1/2 of a teaspoon, just because the lemon juice already had some liquid into it. Plus, once you add it in, you're gonna think, oh, it's not gonna come together like a glaze, but it eventually will. We're gonna take a spoon and mix this together. It doesn't matter like how, some people like it thicker and then it kind of stays on there better, and sometimes it gets thinner, which is just fine. So mine looks like this. I want to still finish cooling my scones before we put this on, because otherwise it's gonna melt through and you won't even notice it's on there. But that's also good because then you get the sweetness all throughout the scone, so it really doesn't matter when you put it on, because some people like their scones warm, some people like them completely cooled. So, but I'm gonna completely cool mine, and then we'll add the glaze on. Okay, so now we have our scones completely cooled. There is one missing. Me and my mom wanted to try and make sure it's okay, and of course they were amazing. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our glaze and just take a little bit and just drizzle it right on there. This adds some sweetness to them, a little bit of citrus from the lemon, and just a little bit of extra prettiness. Sometimes if you make a thicker glaze, it will dry on. This is a little bit thinner. I just didn't add any extra powdered sugar. I might leave a couple of them plain without glaze. So we're just gonna leave it like that. And then once they're done, we're gonna take it, break a little piece off. Look at the inside of those. These are so like cool and pretty just because like all the color from the blackberry, and you get the floral from the lavender. So we're gonna try a little piece with the glaze. Dip a little bit in there. That is absolutely amazing. I love how the lavender and the lemon work together because it kind of just like balances it out the flavor a little bit better. And you can definitely get the hint of lavender. It's not overpowering, but it's also not like where you cannot taste it at all. So it's very good. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you'll try this recipe and see you next time.